sees these angels, and the angels are singing this song, and in the song they say something. What do they say? Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty. The whole earth is filled with his glory. Let me tell you, this is the thing that at least I can tell you from my experience that kind of bothered me as I was trying to get into the pixels, because obviously as I'm teaching, this is something I learned myself. In Revelation chapter 12, verses 11, let's open our Bibles. Revelation chapter 12, verse 11, there's a very important text that we read there. And 12 verses 11. It says, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. By the blood of the Lamb and the word of the testimony. So this morning, I'm not going to try to wow you with a lot of knowledge and a lot of things, which hopefully that does happen, but I can just share genuinely my testimony. This has been my journey of understanding what God's glory means to me, and actually even a continued journey, as it were. So go to the next slide if you could, Brian, thank you. I want us to look at the nature of God's glory. I spent a little bit of time, studying the life of Moses. Moses' life really appeals to me for some reason. I look at him, I kind of see, that I didn't necessarily grow up as a prince of Egypt or anything like that, but he's African, I'm African, different things like that. So I focus in on his life. I see that, when Jesus is going through stress at the Transfiguration, who shows up? Elijah and Moses. So Moses is somewhat of an important figure, that he even encouraged Jesus. So obviously he should be good enough to encourage me. So, I spent a lot of time kind of studying him. And as a young person, there are so many things that you kind of are worried about. You're focusing in on your relationships. You're focusing in on, your health, hopefully. Most of us not so much. But you're focusing on your career. You're focusing on the future. You're focusing on heaven. And there's this goal, and we're told to set goals, especially in this system of education. Go ahead to the next slide. And I see that Moses is having this conversation, let's say, with God. It's a very interesting conversation. We see it in the book of Exodus, chapter 33 and 34. That's where I'm going to be taking the main story for today. Exodus, chapter 33 and 34. Moses is kind of in this weird situation because he got the tablets the first time. We see in Exodus chapter 20, the people, after he's gone for 40 days, they decide, what, we don't have time to wait. So what they do is they get all their gold and they melt it and they make a cow. I don't know why exactly they do these things, but Moses comes down and he breaks the law. I don't know if you read the story. Then he melts the gold and makes them drink it and kills them. I don't know if you read it. The Bible has a lot of crazy stuff. But later, they're having this conversation, and God is talking to Moses, and he says, listen, these people are irritating me. Why don't you just go on without me? I'm going to send maybe an angel or something. Moses says, no, we really need you to be there. He's like, no, as a matter of fact, I'll tell you the way. You don't even need an angel. I'll tell you the way. You just go. And then Moses says, I will not take another step forward or a step backward unless you are there with me. As I'm looking at my life, to be honest, if there was anything that I could really appreciate, because I'm not afraid of too many things. I'm not afraid of heights. I went skydiving the other day. I'm not afraid of snakes. I'm not afraid of too many things. One thing I'm for sure afraid of is the future. I don't know what's going to be there. I don't know what's going to happen. If God was to tell me, hey, Brian, you're going to live 83 years, and this is everything that's going to happen, how many of you would reject that? How many of you are looking for that? Because, many of us, I think this is really honestly what we do in our prayers. We ask God, hey, show me the future. Show me what to do here, which is not a bad thing. That's human nature. But Moses now becomes my example. And for some reason, he doesn't just stop there. As a matter of fact, he doesn't even really just accept God's offer to be given this plan to the promised land, which I'm sure many of us would be tempted to receive. He takes it a little bit further, and now we're going to go into 33 verses 12. We're going to read extendedly, actually, into chapter 34. I want us to really get into the word. It says, one day, this is New Living Translation, one day Moses said to the Lord, you've been telling me take these people up to the promised land, but you haven't told me who you will send with me. You've told me I know you by name. I look favorably on you. I mean, those are awesome things. Let me tell you, if God just came and said, hey, I know you personally. Let's say if President Obama walked in here came straight to the stage and shake my hand, I would feel so good. And then just walked out. Yes! By name, favorably. As a matter of fact, we both walk out of here in a motorcade and just stroll in Wilmington. Yes! I'm ready for that. I don't know about you. Yes, I'm telling you. So he says, I know you've told me, I know you by name. I look favorably on you. Okay, right? If it is true that you look favorably on me, let me know your way so that I can understand it, so I can more fully continue to enjoy your favor. And remember this nation that is your very own people. The Lord promises him in verse 14, I will go with you. I will give you rest and everything will be fine. Man, what if President Obama, as we're talking in the motorcade, was like, hey, listen, I got you, bruh. Everything, like anything you want. My Secret Service, your Secret Service. My bank account, your bank account. My daughters, not yours. But, I got you. I'll hook you up some other kind of way. I got you. I think that would be really awesome. So then Moses says, as God's talking to him, so he says, I will personally go with you. And then Moses says, if you don't personally go with us, don't even make us leave this place. For how will anyone know that you look favorably on me or on your people if you don't go with us? I mean, obviously, if Obama doesn't give me some type of symbol, that I have his bank account, if I walk into the bank and say, hey, I'm here for President Obama's bank account, obviously that's not going to work out well for me. How will anyone know that you're looking favorable to me if you don't go with us? For your presence among us sets your people and me apart from the other people of the earth. The Lord replies to Moses, I will indeed go with you. So at this point, we're in the motorcade. He's giving me the credit card, which I could have stolen. But he says, no, I will actually even go with you to the bank. Man, this just sounds like a really sweet deal. Then the Lord replies to him, I will go with you. I will do what you've asked, for I look favorably on you, and I know you by name. But Moses, it's interesting, because, I actually don't know what else anybody could want. If Obama's with you, Obama knows you, Obama likes you, Obama's giving you free money, he's giving you free health care, amen. He's giving you, everything that is you need. What else is there in this life? He's giving you a plan. He's like, I'll set you up. But Moses takes it deeper. And this is really where I found myself spending a lot of time studying the life of Moses and trying to see what is it about him that made him ask this question in 33 verse 19. It says, Moses responded, then show me your glory. Please show me your glory. It's a very interesting moment in time, that God is, receiving this question. I don't know if God had received this question from others. I'm sure there were other faithful people, but you can imagine with this stiff-necked people, that's probably not what they're asking. Obviously we have what they're asking. We want to go back to Egypt. We want quail. We want this. We want that. But to show us God's glory. Next slide, if you can go to the next slide. Moses is now in verse 34. God does something really awesome here. He reestablishes those tablets that he broke. How many of you have broken God's commandments before? Mercy. This is what we're learning. We're learning from Moses. God will reestablish, and he chisels 2 stones, 34 verse 1. 2 stone tablets like the first ones, and he writes on them the same words that were on the tablets that were smashed. Be ready in the morning to climb up to the mountain. Present yourself to me. On the top of that mountain, no one else should come with you. Skipping down to verse 4. So Moses chiseled out 2 tablets of stone like the first one. Early in the morning, he climbed the mountain as God had commanded him. Then the Lord came down in a cloud and stood with him, and he called out his own name, Yahweh. We're looking at Moses' life. We're trying to understand what God's glory is. I only want you to get one thing. I learned as a teacher that if you spend too much time talking about too much, people learn nothing. And so if you can't convince them, confuse them. So I'm going to spend a lot of time just kind of jumping around. Let's go to the next slide. Lamentations chapter 3 verse 22. It's the question I want you to have in your mind. What is God's glory? Lamentations 33 verse 22. It's on the next slide if you go. It says, because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed. So let's answer this question. What is God's glory? What does God do as he's going to prepare Moses to receive his glory? I skipped over it, but what does it say? We're reading in 33 and 34. At the end of 33, what does it say? 19 all the way through. I skipped it purposefully. It says, I will hide you in the cleft of the rock, and I will let all of my goodness pass before you. 33 verse 19, you can read it on the screen. Then I will make all my goodness pass before you. I will proclaim the name of the Lord before you, and I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious. I will have compassion on those who I'll have compassion. Keep going. But he said, you cannot see my face, for no man shall see my face and live. And the Lord said, here is a place for me, place by me, and you shall stand in the rock. Truckers, as they're talking to each other, after they agree, what do they say? Everybody know? Like, hey, over. But then when they agree, they say, 10-4, good buddy. 10-4. I have no idea why they say that. Does anybody know why they say that? 10-4? Thank you. It's radio for okay. Look at that. You get an A+ for the day. Yes, because I have no idea. Let's go to where we can understand why everything will be okay. It's in 1 Corinthians 10, verse 4. 10, verse 4. It tells you something very interesting as we're looking at this text in Exodus chapter 33. 1 Corinthians 10, verse 4. If somebody can read it, please. You got to be quick with your sword. Come on, people. Faster, yes. 1 Corinthians 10:4, what does it say? Yeah, man. Keep going. And that rock was Christ. Exodus chapter 33, we see that God was going to hide Moses where? In the rock. That rock was Christ. Okay, so I'm taking you through. I'm trying to create some artifacts here so you can put pieces together. What is God's glory? What is God's glory? Moses would ask, hey, show me your glory. Go back to that. Go back. Show me your glory, verse 18. And then what does God say? Because this is the thing is I'm trying to understand what God's glory is. He says, show me your glory. And what does God now say? Show me your glory. Go to the next one. He says, I will do what? Okay, so what's going on here? Hey, Sam, can you give me $10? And then you give me $1. Are we having a miscommunication? Is God miscommunicating here? Hey, I thought Obama said he was giving me his credit card. It wasn't his credit card. It was a gift card to Apple, iTunes. Who uses iTunes? Nobody. No, so I'm just kidding. Maybe some people. I don't do those things. But Spotify all day. We're looking at God offering the goodness that Moses didn't ask for. What is it that's going on here? What we come to find is that God's glory is his character. Let's say that together. God's glory is his character. And I want to really make the argument here that as we are asking now, as Moses is asking, for God to show us his glory, he is actually revealing to us his character. But I want us to take it deeper because